All right.
On the ground?
I'm sorry, was it?
Just throw it on the ground.
Okay, sure.
All right, so looking at me.
Okay.
Look at the camera.
Okay.
Let's start out with say and spell your first and last name, give your title.
Sure. My name is Joe Sack, S-A-C-K. I work for SQLskills.com. I'm a principal consultant.
So, what brings you to town today? Hold on 1 second before you do that.
Sure.
Okay, what brings you to town today?
Well, I actually was teaching in Florida, so I'm a principal consultant / trainer. So SQL Skills, we do training and consulting. I was just teaching in Florida, and then we had the MVP Summit, and then I flew down here. I'm from Minnesota, but I flew down here for SQL Saturday and teaching the Troubleshooting Query Plan Quality Issues course. So the 1-hour review of areas that I've seen over the last few years that can cause issues with query performance. So
what did you hear today? What did you talk about? So at SQL Server Saturday,
yeah.
you use that sort of really because people won't hear me. What were people asking?
What were people asking? So a lot of folks, one thing I've noticed about SQL Saturdays is there's a big diversity of experience. So sometimes people who come here wouldn't normally go to some of the conferences that we have. So for example, we have a SQL Intersection conference coming up in April. They might not be attending that. And so I've noticed with the last 2 SQL Saturdays I've done, we have more access to folks that might just be coming in for this event alone. So in terms of questions, I get it all over the board of what do you look for in a query execution plan. I had questions about statistics, about indexing. I had some career networking discussions. So for example, I was just talking to somebody who was describing her job and how she loved solving problems. And I said, wow, actually this sounds like a really good candidate for consulting and premier field engineering at Microsoft. And so we exchanged contact information. So you get connections across career, troubleshooting, performance tuning, all across the board. So
what is the problem today? What seems to be this year's state? What are we trying to solve?
In terms of what we're trying to solve, so there's a lot of nuance to performance tuning. So my main area is performance tuning and scalability, high availability and disaster recovery. And so there's a lot of concepts that I can review with folks, but you still need a human being to interpret it and to gather patterns and really evaluate the information in an it depends kind of way. So if everything was deterministic, I would say here are the 8 things you look for and then you're done. But in my session, I go through here are the patterns that you look for, but here are all the if, then, buts. And that's really why we still have a career. This is why people still go to these kinds of events, because if it was black and white, we wouldn't need it. And so just having those discussions and then showing more nuanced ways of doing things has, I think, been the fun part of presenting this kind of material.
So when people walk away today, what's the one thing you hope to know? So let's start with people leave SQL Server Saturday.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you hope to take away?
I think the big thing is connections.
So when people don't hear me,
yeah.
So you can say at SQL Server Saturdays, what we hope they'll take away is.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave them with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So at SQL Server Saturday, or at SQL Saturdays, what I would hope people would take away is actually the connecting with other people in the industry. So you have this unusual opportunity. You have MVPs flying around from the world to attend these events. So you have a chance to mix in with people of different experiences, significant experts that are used to going to events with 2,000 people in it. And then you're meeting, for me, the opportunity is meeting folks that wouldn't normally go to these conferences or might not have the training budget. And I like to hear their stories. So in terms of taking away, for me, it's taking away connections. I'm exchanging emails and contact information with folks that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then you just allow for that synchronicity to happen, because sometimes I've met people at these events where I might then end up seeing them at a training event they wouldn't have considered before, or a consulting engagement, or a specific problem pattern that I want to get their opinion on. So the human connectivity, though, is the biggest part that I found is most valuable about this event. So. Okay.